Greetings, fellow mages. Exalt here, giving you your daily dose of Magic Manastrike. How are you guys doing? It's the weekend. I hope you guys are having a great time. This video is going to be short and sweet because all I have to do would be to share to you the updates that the devs have shared during their live stream event. They've made a couple of announcements. Number one, we are getting 2 new Planeswalkers. Number 2, we have a skin for a Planeswalker. Number 3, we have a bunch of new creature cards. And number 4, it has something to do with the gameplay. So let me start with number 4 because that's the easiest, right? As far as gameplay goes, they said that they'd be updating the game such that you'd be able to challenge players who are outside of your team or your clan, right? In a casual match. Currently in the game, if you want to have a casual match, you're limited only to playing with people who are within your group, right? Okay, so that's the first update. Now for the next 3 updates, I have to warn you. I did attend the live stream event, and I'm going to put a link down in the description below for that actual video if you want that. But what I only have for you today would be screenshots. And you'll have to forgive me for the poor quality of the screenshots that I took. So if you'd rather watch the 1-hour video, you can take a look at the description. I'll provide you with the link. Or if you're ready to just go with me and look at a couple of screenshots, just so you can get the updates very quickly, then stay and continue watching the video. Alright, so let's jump right into those screenshots. Alright, so here's the first update. Here's your new Planeswalker, Koth. Right, he's a mono red Planeswalker. Let's take a look at his description. A freedom fighter that chooses the power of the seething earth. Melee AoE attacks enemy air and ground units. Transforms into Koth of the Black Iron upon entering enemy territory. Koth of the Black Iron only melee attacks buildings. So let's take a look at some of the screenshots about how and see how his skills and attacks work. Oops, but before that, here's a description of the skill. The skill is called Magma Armor. He becomes engulfed in lava to increase attack and decrease all damage received from enemy units. So he becomes even more tankier when he has that skill enabled. So for his basic attack, he's able to melee AoE attacks. He's able to melee AoE attack enemy air and ground units. Alright, so similar to Chandranalar, but this time instead of ranged, you'll have melee distance. He transforms to Koth of the Black Iron upon entering enemy territory, and the Koth of the Black Iron only melee attacks buildings. This should remind you of the Ranger creature that's found on the green deck, which transforms into a werewolf the moment it transitions onto it, the moment it moves onto the opponent's side of the field, right? So it's similar to that. That's his static ability. And remember, he becomes tankier when he does this, so it's perfect. You know, it's just the red. Attack, 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 relentlessly. For his Planeswalker skills, he can inflict AoE damage and stun nearby enemy units. That's just what red is all about. Stun, damage, attack, right? Straightforward, destroy. That's what red is all about. So that is Koth. Let's take a look at the next one. We have another red Planeswalker, but not just red. For the first time in the game, we are getting a black and red Planeswalker. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rath. Alright, so Rath is a Minotaur with Burning Rage following his imprisonment. He melee attacks enemy ground units. He becomes Crazed Rath with greatly increased attack speed and move speed during Manastrike. So he transforms into a faster version of himself when he moves on to the Manastrike stage, which is the last minute of the game. Alright. For his skill called Angrath's Rampage, He inflicts massive damage and stuns enemy ground units for a short time in a rectangular area in front of him. And that should remind you of the electrostatic pummeler's ability, right? You know, that yellow colored creature, which is actually colorless, right? It hits in a rectangular area in front of it, but Rath can one-up that because this skill can also stun enemy units. Just ground, right? For his basic attack, it looks like this. He cannot attack flying creatures, only ground units. Then his static ability, once he enters Manastrike, he gains greatly increased move speed and attack speed, hitting them creatures like playing whack-a-mole. For his Planeswalker skill, which you'll have to activate, you can inflict massive damage to an enemy ground unit and stun them. It's like the basic attack of your electrostatic pummeler plus stun. So that's what it looks like, right? So that is your red-black deck. I'm sure you guys are already thinking about ways that you can make this work for you. So finally, you're no longer restricted to just red and another color, right? You're now able to use the combination of red and black, both deadly colors. Now, for their bonus, it's not a new Planeswalker, but they're going to give a new skin. Not give. They will. Let me just catch myself. I'm talking too fast. A new skin for Ajani Goldmane. Sorry, and this skin is called Ajani Vengeant, right? And you bet I'm gonna get this skin because I main Ajani. You guys know that if you have been following my videos. But no new other Planeswalker apart from those red and red-black Planeswalker that I just talked about. Now, let's talk about some of the new cards that will be released in the next update. We have Carrion Crow, which is a black card, a common card which you can play for just 2 mana, but it summons 4 crows. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, yep, that's a Reaver demon food, right? And at 2 mana cost, this is going to be insane. So it can basic attack ground or air enemies. It's relatively small, only with 82 HP. A decent attack with 101, but again, that's not the purpose. If you're going to use that combination of Reaver Demon and sacrificing a bunch of your creatures, this has got to be one of the choices, right? Carrion Crow. Now for your red players out there, we have the Fire Shrine Keeper. So this is a creature which melee attacks enemy ground units, and it inflicts AoE damage to nearby enemy ground units when hit, knocks back nearby enemies upon death. So this is another interesting creature, and with just 2 mana, you have a lot of crowd control. It gives you a knockback ability when it dies. So let's take a look at a screenshot of how it looks like. So it can melee attack enemy ground units, but the moment it gets hit, it activates its static ability. So that's it, hitting it, right? You see that red ring around it, right? So every time it gets hit by another creature, that creature takes a small amount of damage, right? For a 2 mana creature, that is amazing. But wait, that's not everything. The moment it dies, it scatters all of the creatures that are opposing creatures that are around it, which is perfect if your opponent is sort of swarming, right? In one area, you put the Fire Shrine Keeper in the middle, and they'll split the moment the Fire Shrine Keeper dies, right? So if you're playing in the middle of the field, then that means some of the opponent's creatures would move closer to your tower, and your tower can probably, give it some aggro. And then if the archer is also in that swarm, that archer will also fall back towards the opponent's side. This is great crowd control for only 2 mana. Right. What other cards do we have? For green, a 3 mana cost creature called Sylvan Advocate. It range attacks enemy air and ground units, and it steadily inflicts more damage the longer it keeps attacking. Now this creature will remind you of Rowan, right? The sibling of Will. I don't know. Are they siblings? You let me know in the comments below. But they look like siblings. His basic attack is a range attack and reaches both air and ground units. It can steadily inflict more damage the longer it keeps attacking. So that's an example of it attacking an air unit. Here's an example of it attacking a ground unit. Although it does not produce the area of effect damage similar to Rowan, but if you look at the way the animation here is shown, it's very similar to that. Excuse me. All right, let's move on to a blue creature for 2 mana. We have High Tide Hermit. This has got to be one of the best cards that they've released. They will be releasing in the next update. The High Tide Hermit melee attacks enemy ground units, but here's the kicker. It hides inside its shell and it doesn't attack when it gets hit. So it just turtles, or it just hides, right? It'll remind you of a certain Pokemon, right? It counts as a building while it's hiding. So that means creatures that are attracted to buildings only, like Geralf's Messenger, will attack it, right? And the best part is, while it's hiding in its shell, it'll take less damage. The moment the damages stop, it'll come out of its shell and it'll start moving forward again. Here are a couple of screenshots. So this is an example of it performing a melee attack on ground units. But the moment it gets hit, it goes into its shell and it takes less damage. For 2 mana, right? I don't know exactly how less of a damage it's going to take, but this is a great addition to any blue deck. If you're a beginner, put this on your deck, practice that tank and archer strategy. Man, this is going to be a great creature. I can already imagine. Now, for the last creature, we have Ameria Angel. For you white mains out there, Ameria Angel summons 1 angel and 3 birds, and then they fly in the air and range attack enemy and ground air units. But man, 7 mana for a creature with an attack of 138. It's a little tanky with 1235 plus HP, plus it's flying. I guess you'll have to be creative and figure out how this is going to be incorporated in your deck. If you main white. So this is how its basic attack looks like, just range attacks. All right. And I believe, yep, that is all we have for next season's updates. Right. So 4 updates. Let me just perform a quick recap. So we're getting 2 new planeswalkers. We have Koth and Angrath, red and red-black respectively. We're also getting a Johnny skin and a bunch of new creatures. And the last update would be a new update for the gameplay, not the gameplay, for playing casual matches, which will allow you to play casual matches outside of your team. And that is it. All right. If you stayed this long and watched the video, thank you very much. Again, if you're interested in watching the entire video, that 1 hour plus video, I'll put the link in the description below. And as usual, this is Exalt signing off. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.